Hi, it is Thursday afternoon as I'm recording this and posting it to the course. And that means we are coming close to the weekend when the discussion boards need to be active. So, particularly here in this first week of the course with the biblical worldview discussion, uh, you need to make your first post to that discussion, ideally by Friday night at midnight, so that across Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, we can have an active discussion about that topic. So, to help you get ready to do that, I thought it would be good to go over the discussion rubric. Now, the first thing I want to point out is that the discussion is worth 30 points. If you read the document on discussion requirements, which I really would like you to do, there's a couple of differences between that document and this rubric. That document says that the discussion is worth 25 points. It's worth 30. It also gives a rubric, which is not this rubric. We decided to do it differently, and that document didn't get updated. And it says that your response posts are 5 points all or nothing. That's not true, as you will see as we go through the rubric. The response posts get their own line, and they could be worth 8, 6, 4, or 2 points. So that's different from what it says in that document. So here, what does this document say? What I'm going to do is going to focus on the excellent column because I'm not really aiming for you to get the other ones. I want you to get excellent. So I'm going to evaluate your discussion first on your initial post, which is 18 out of 30 points. So what will get you those 18 points? An initial post of about 500 words. Let me stop there. I'm not a stickler on length. There is nothing about going longer that automatically makes writing better. In fact, really, short writing is better, but it's not easy to write things in a way that's concise and brief. In fact, for most of us, we have to write long and then edit short. So it would be hard to do a good, substantial, thoughtful post in under 300 words. On the other hand, if you go much over 500, you get so long. Remember, this is a discussion. It's hard to get your classmates to read the whole thing and respond intelligently to it. So it is a piece of graduate writing. The guide says it's very much like a paper, but it's all a piece of writing focused at provoking a discussion. So think 300 to 500 words. And I'm not a stickler. What I often say about writing length is don't make me check. And by that, I mean, if I'm getting bored thinking, will this thing ever end? I'm going to say, is it too long? And if I get done and say, he didn't say anything, then I'm going to say, is it too short? You do a good piece of writing, I may never look at the length. All right, so about 500 words includes thoughtful development and analysis. That's your development, your analysis. This is your writing. Whether discussion boards or papers, most students quote too much. I don't need a whole bunch of quotations from other people run together. And the best citations to other works are paraphrases, where you take the author's work, put it in your own words, and still put in that parenthetical citation because you got the idea from him. But don't quote too much. In a discussion post, there's really not much room for quoting unless you just have to get it exactly in the author's words. It's your development, your analysis. I need to see your thinking about the topic. But it includes the use of texts. That's what you read for the class this week and your own research, and scripture, if appropriate. And in an MA in ministry class, it's hard to imagine something where scripture isn't appropriate to support conclusions. So you do your own development of the thought, you do your own analysis of the reading, and you cite scholars and you cite scripture to support what you say. That's great writing. Minimal quotation. Then your response posts, it says a minimum of 100 words. What we're really aiming at there is if you want to write, that was a great post, or I really appreciate what you had to say, that's fine, but that's not a gradable assignment. A gradable assignment shows me what you're thinking. So it clearly uses techniques to engage other students for further interaction. If you put in 100 words, we're kind of thinking you have to say something more than good job, buddy. That you're going to engage the students in further interaction, like probing questions. How are you using the word culture? Might be a probing question. Or I don't know, there's some examples in that document I talked about in the course resources. If you add an insight, you made a great point, and that makes me think, and you add on and build on what they said. Differing opinions. Now, really, having differences of opinion is what makes a conversation kind of worth having, but we don't want arguments, and we never attack each other. My observation of GRACE students is that maybe they tend to be a little too worried about a disagreement falling into an argument. We don't quite disagree enough. There are some things to disagree about here, but we can do it in a very nice way. Even things we hold near and dear. Reading your introductory posts, I know our theologies differ a little bit. That's okay. We can discuss them and explain how we see things. And then expansion of the subject matter. This is often a very helpful part of the discussion. We're talking about worldview. You could say, here's a common one. I often say something like this to students. You talked about worldview in terms of critiquing other people's perspectives. Do you use a biblical worldview to critique your own perspective? And I can take what the student said and build out from what they said, expand it in another direction. Or you talked about a biblical worldview and the effect, how it affects how you view literature and movies and that sort of thing. How does it, here is how I see it affecting how I view science. You take and expand on the student, on what the other student said. And then writing quality, exemplary use of grammar, depth of expression, APA citations. This is a graduate writing assignment. So, you need to do good writing. Sometimes students, and this is more undergrad than grad, but just because they're writing online in a little text box, they revert to no capitals and lack of punctuation. No. This is a writing assignment. Now, regarding APA citations, I do make this one little exception. When you do APA citations, you have to have a reference list. For my class, this is my class only. No, I don't know if anybody else does this. If you are citing a course text, boy, I can't even think who we're reading this week. It's drawing a blank. Well, let me look. Let's see here. Morrow is who we're reading this week. Okay, go back to this. So if you're citing Morrow, so you have Morrow, comma, 2013 or whatever his book is, comma, page 142, and you put that citation in your text, you don't have to do a reference list entry in a discussion board for course texts. That only applies to discussion boards, only applies to course texts. Every paper you have to have a full reference list. In a discussion, we all know what we were assigned. We can just cite it. That's our little agreement between us. But if you cite something in this discussion, this first week's discussion specifically says you must cite another scholar that wasn't assigned to you, so you have to do a little research, that one you're going to need a reference list entry. But that's only 4 points out of 30 for good grammar, correct form, and APA. All right, if you have questions, as always, feel free to get in touch with me. Look forward to reading your discussions. First posts are due by Friday midnight. I will take very limited points off if you for posts that are made on Saturday. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do. I take a little more off for Sundays, and then if you don't get your first post out there till Monday, then I'm really going to have to take off there. But we want to have a good discussion. We need to post by Friday and come back to the boards on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, so that we have real discussion that helps each other out. All right, I'll talk to you later.